Did you guys hear that there's a worldwide pandemic going on? It seems like nobody's talking about it, right? Just kidding, obviously. I don't want this channel to become the coronavirus channel, but there is something important that I wanted to talk about, which is a new screening tool created by Apple in conjunction and in partnership with the White House and CDC. Now, again, I know I did a survey the other day asking if you guys want more or less coronavirus type videos, and overwhelmingly a lot of people said they were tired of hearing about the dumb virus. So what I'll do is only make a video if it's about something important related to the virus, which I think this is. This is a very important tool that I think you should get. This is made by Apple, but it is not required to have an iPhone. They also launched a website, which is basically the exact same thing along with the app tool. And basically it's just a questionnaire where you put in your symptoms or which ones you don't have, and then it will give you a recommendation on whether to contact a doctor, self-isolate, or just be social distancing. And like I said, you don't need an iPhone to use this. You can just go on apple.com/COVID-19. There's a web version, and you can do this even on a computer or a mobile device. There's a computer version. It all seems to be exactly the same. If you do have an iPhone, there is a actual specific app, and it's called Apple COVID-19. So you just search for that in the App Store, and you can see it's brand new. There's no reviews on it, or not enough reviews, so you can just download it there. So why don't we go into the app and I'll show you a couple examples for filling out the survey. You can see what it looks like. So as you can see, this is the COVID-19 app just in the home screen, or if you just went on the website, and you can either hit start screening or view previous results if you already did some. The more information section just kind of shows you some basic stuff that you'd probably expect, like about COVID-19, tells you what it is. If you don't know what it is at this point, I don't know what you can do, social distancing, stuff you've heard already before. Really the main thing is the start screening. So basically it tells you about the screening tool. It says you'll have a few questions about symptoms, blah, blah, blah. And it also will not share your answers with Apple or others without your permission. And I went through this several times. It didn't even ask me permission, so I'm assuming they're not sharing it with anyone anyway. And then, of course, there are some terms or whatever. So you can either use it for yourself or for someone else. And I'll just use it for myself. And before you start, it'll ask you if you have any like extreme symptoms that require emergency services. If you say you have at least one of these symptoms, you can see it literally just says call 911, so, and then stops everything right there, so it doesn't go further. But if you hit I do not have any of these symptoms, then you can continue on to the questions. It'll ask your age. So I'll just do this first one as if I have no symptoms whatsoever. So 18 to 64, we can see what happens if I basically am completely fine. I'll say none of the above. I'll say I do not have any underlying conditions. And then, have I traveled internationally? No, I haven't anyway. And then, in the last 14 days, have you been in an area that is widespread? Now, this one is kind of a dumb question because what does widespread mean? I mean, it's all over the place, all over the world. So I'm just going to put, I don't know. And then, in the last 14 days, what is your exposure to others? And this one, I wouldn't know either. So, I mean, if you've had no exposure, I'm just going to say I've been near someone, because for all I know, I walked by someone that might have been, but I had no exposure to a sneeze or cough. And then, do you live or work in a care facility? No, I don't do that. And you could see, if you have no symptoms and you don't have any underlying conditions, it just basically says you should practice social distancing, which is just basically stay away from other people. And then it also, in some cases, like this one, it will say no test at this time. So it does not suggest you get tested, and then it shows your responses below. Now, in the examples all the examples I've tested out doing different types of ways to answer the questions, I've never had it actually recommend and say you should do a test, only that you should not do a test in some cases. And I'm assuming that's because in other situations, it tells you to just call a doctor, and they would tell you whether or not to do that. But I kind of wish it would at least say, yeah, maybe you should ask your doctor about getting a test. But I guess maybe they figure, I don't know, some people would say, well, the app told me to get a test, and now you're saying not to, and it might confuse people. So understandable. Let's do another screening where we have like some symptoms. Maybe we're not sure. So we can do, I don't have any super serious symptoms, and then 18 to 64. And then let's say I just have a cough or something. So super minor, but it's not like obvious. And then no underlying conditions, none of the above. and then let's say all the other stuff's the same. So I don't know if it technically is widespread. And then let's say I've been near someone maybe, and then don't work in a long-term care facility. And you can see in this case, it says you should self-isolate, which is different from the other one, which was social distance. So in this case, it's basically saying not just stay away from other people, but you should like stay home, basically. So it says your next 3 steps: isolate from others, stay away from others at least 7 days, and see if any more symptoms appear, basically, and then rest and take care, blah, 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 monitor for the other symptoms. And here you can also see it says no test at this time, probably because it's just one symptom that could be a lot of things causing it. And then again, you get your responses, which I guess you could use to just keep track of your symptoms and stuff. That's also nice. You can keep track of your different results. And I'll show that right here. You can see I did a bunch of different tests to see what kind of results it would give. So I kind of know what it's already going to say, and then you can review the results later. So you can also use that to maybe share with your doctor, and so you know exactly when symptoms got worse. So let's do a third one, and this time it'll be like we definitely have it, right? And I'm going to do a spoiler alert. Even if you say, so let's get to this. Even if you say you have all the symptoms, unless you have an underlying condition, it will never tell you to call a doctor, which is really weird. I don't like that. So I'll do that as an example. Let's say we do all these and maybe accept those, because that's like, I think those are rare anyway. So let's say we don't have any underlying conditions, but you have like all the symptoms of it. And let's say even I live in an area with widespread, and then even I've had close contact, and then you don't live in a facility. You can see it still says self-isolate. I don't really know I hope they would change that. I would think that, if you have all the symptoms for it, it should at least tell you to ask your doctor maybe about getting tested. But I guess it's just playing it safe. But you'll see, I'll do a final example. So let's say we have, I don't know, fever, chills, worsening cough. And again, this is going to be the same result because I tested it, whether you do like one symptom or all of them. It doesn't really matter, but let's just do all of them for an example. And then let's say you have like a single underlying condition like asthma or something that's pretty common. And then next question, and then we'll go through the usual ones. Let's say even I don't know. Let's say I don't know if I live in an area. And then even if you've had no exposure, I'll show you what it says. I don't work in a care facility. You can see it says contact your health provider. So what I found is doing the test a bunch of times is if you have any symptom and you have any underlying condition, basically, it will tell you to contact your health provider from what I've tested. I mean, I only put asthma, but I'm assuming it's for the other ones. So you can pretty much predict what it will say, but at least it will tell you. And if you're not sure, and they might update this app based on CDC recommendations, because I don't think they want everyone with a cough and fever to need to go get tested unless you are at a higher risk, because apparently the people who do have one of those underlying conditions are at so much higher risk, and the people who don't are a lot less. So I don't know, they might update this at some point if new information about how dangerous it is to regular people, or not regular people, but not people with underlying conditions. We'll have to see. But anyway, it's still a good, I think, system to be able to keep track of your symptoms at the very least. And then it also gives you some recommendations on when to self-isolate, which is pretty much anytime you have a symptom or whatever. So anyway, hopefully you guys will find this helpful. And again, you can just go on the App Store or the apple.com/COVID-19 and check it out. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.